All right, I want to call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order, and I'm going to ask if our Public Works Supervisor, Bobby Groves, if he'd come and lead us in prayer, and we'll follow that with the pledge to the flag. Thank you, Bobby.
Father, we thank you for this day and for the blessings you pour upon us each day, and there's so many times we forget that how blessed we are in our community and our country. We thank you for that. We pray for this day that the decisions and discussions would be done in a way that honor you. We pray for our community and our state and our nation, Lord, that you would continue to bless us and guide us, and that we would do things in a way that would honor and bring glory to you. We thank you for watching over us each day, and I ask for your protection on our community and our families. We just thank you for guiding us and watching over us. In Christ's name, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gentlemen, y'all have a paper laid out that I think Amy laid in front of y'all this morning. We have with us today the Director of the Simpson County Tourism, Amy Ellis. She has Nikki Hughes with her. And y'all are going to come and they're going to talk to us about the cemetery project at Sanford Duncan Inn.
Good morning. I'm Amy Ellis. I'm the Simpson County Tourism Director, and this is Nikki Hughes. He is the curator at the Sanford Duncan Inn, and if you don't know Nikki, he has, I'm going to say something nice. He worked for the State Historical Preservation Society for many, many years, and he is what I would consider an expert on anything that has to do with anything we need taken care of at the inn. Well, he knows a lot more about it than I do, I'll put it that way. So with the inn, if you don't know, the county, which you guys do know this, that the county does own that property, but tourism has been more or less overseeing that property for some time. So we opened the inn last year back up to the public, and we're open April through the end of October for tours, and the distillery has opened the first craft distillery tasting room in the state of Kentucky in that building behind the inn. So what we plan to do this year is we will reopen again in April, but we need to make some much needed improvements to the property. And where we'd like to begin is the cemetery, and I'm going to let Nikki talk to you about the cemetery and the condition.
Thank you, Amy, for absolutely no notice that I was going to be doing this. The cemetery out there contains the remains of the Sanford Duncan and his family, who started the inn and kept it going for several decades. And so lots of other people, neighbors, friends of theirs, some folks we have no idea who they were. But the cemetery, well, it's an essential part of the site. It's really important. We sort of have an obligation to those folks, since the county owns that property, to maintain the cemetery. We need to set an example, a good example. And but it has deteriorated over the years. Mainly, it's a drainage problem, and a lot of the tombstones have been broken or fallen over. The biggest one out there, which is a great, huge thing about this tall, is taking a lean, and our guy that we'd like to get to do this project says it doesn't have long to live. If it's not stabilized, it's going to topple over. That'll probably break it and anything or anybody that it falls on. So that really has to have attention. And we've got access to a really good guy who has a lot of experience in doing this kind of work, and he works real cheap. He and I go way back, and we'd like to launch into this pretty soon.
So on the back page of that, you have the biography of Mr. Fugate, who works on the cemeteries, and then an outline of the cemetery project itself. And on the back page, what my ask is, tourism will pay Mr. Fugate to come and do the work. We're going to need a load of gravel. We're going to need the epoxy for the headstones. There's some other smaller things on there that tourism actually has, tents and such. And then we also would like to primer and paint the fence. The figures before that are exact, but the I'm not sure what the fence is going to cost to repair. We kind of guessed at $500. Might cost more than that. It's going to need quite a bit of work. But our main concern is those headstones and putting them back. What I'd like to ask from the court is if we will pay for those items, will you guys help us out with, we need some flat paving stones. We're going to need possibly some labor and a sky track and an operator. I spoke with someone yesterday and got the SkyTrack and the operator for $1,000. I spoke with someone this morning here in town who also has that, and he's willing to do that and provide somebody to operate it for $500. So, so my ask is pretty much to cover the cost of that and the paving stones, and then we are probably going to need some hands-on, either somebody from the county or maybe a couple of guys, if the jailer has somebody there that could maybe help us out with the physical part of what needs to be done. And it'll be the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of April is when Mr. Fugate will be here.
So basically, with the new information about the SkyTrack, basically you need $1,000 from the county.
Basically, yes.
What about the, where you getting the gravel from? Because, I mean,
Have you guys
I
got
think
gravel?
we probably could do the gravel easier than we could do the flat stone.
Okay,
You know, we could go get a load of gravel or just add that into it.
yeah. And we're not
I
going to
think
need a
I-
whole load. I just took a shot at, yeah. It's
No way to
just,
know, but it won't be a whole
yeah,
truck.
to firm up underneath the tombstones is what that is.
Well, the gentleman that's out there working, like, once he gets started, would he be able to say, okay, I think you need 8
Absolutely.
ton of gravel, you need
Absolutely.
10 ton of gravel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, could we haul some gravel out there, Bobby?
Yeah, and then I expect there'll be a surplus that we'll need to haul away too. But yeah,
So that's our ask, and I think we can make that cemetery much, much better than the shape it's in
and
now.
the amazing thing is that everybody that comes to that site to take a tour, they take off out to that cemetery. I'm not exaggerating. Every
Well,
single-
they want to see where those people got laid to rest that fought in that duel.
They do.
And by the way, publicly, I want to say, when we reenacted the duel, Nikki, you took great pleasure in shooting me that day.
Yes, yes it does. But
And now you're asking for money.
but I will say, to preserve his ability to run for election again, we didn't use real pistols. So he
Which
didn't
I was
violate the
very
oath of
thanful of that
office.
part. I was quite thankful of that.
I
We
thought
don't
I
want
was
you to
doing
be an
you a
oath
favor.
breaker, Judge.
Yeah, yeah.
Once we get the cemetery in a better condition, what we would like to do is have a walking path from the Welcome Center back to that cemetery, and we can do that with gravel. Just something a little bit more steady for people, because there are quite a few people that come and go back there, but we would like to have a pathway back there. Paving it might be a little too expensive, but if we could do a gravel path,
That'd be fun.
it would make it more walkable.
Would it be safe to say that you have been kind of shocked and amazed at how many people come out to visit that place?
Yes, honestly, I did not know much about it, although I worked at the newspaper all those years and have lived here all my life. I had no clue what the history behind the inn was. And when I found out exactly what it was, I called the state because the county had a T grant that actually did that renovation many years ago. And there are a lot of regulations when you have one of those. So I actually called them to find out what can we do on the property and what can we not do. And when I talked to the gentleman there at the state, he said that it was one of the top 10 historic sites in the state of Kentucky, that
Really?
because of what happened there. So that kind of clicked with me that we really, it's honestly a huge asset for Franklin as far as attractions. Last year we had the entire 5th grade out there, and we bust them out, dropped them off, and we did a living history with different, Nikki did that with stations, and talked to them about dueling, about medicine, and
There's just a whole lot of local history
Yeah.
you can teach about it at that one site. Civil War, dueling, slavery, agriculture, the highway, transportation. It's just all there in one little convenient location.
we will do that again this fall with the 5th grade again.
So basically, I guess we would need a motion to approve some money to spend, but basically we would help with $1,000 plus whatever gravel was needed.
That sounds good.
So moved.
All right, so we had a motion by Marty to fund this cemetery renovation project at $1,000 plus whatever gravel is needed.
Second.
Got a second by Scott. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried. April 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We
Thank you
appreciate
much,
that.
appreciate it.
Thank you all. All right. Gentlemen,
One thing. Amy, the jailer signaled me when you was up here talking, he could get you some inmates to help. Is that what you were saying?
That's what I was gonna ask, there's some gray area there, is this, so the county owns it, is this public or private?
This is county property.
So the cemetery belongs to the county, is that correct?
yeah.
Okay, then we'll provide it later.
Okay.
Good deal. All right. So on the portal was the minutes from our March 7th regular fiscal court meeting. I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question, discussion, or corrections? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Also on the portal were the minutes from our March 7th regular joint meeting with the City Commission. I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of that meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question, corrections? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have with us our county clerk and Miss Grace Dinkin. I thought Grace was coming to give this report. Grace, I'm disappointed that he would not let you get on camera. Anyway, no, we're glad to have our county clerk with us
Thank you.
today to give us the 2022 fee settlement.
So this is what, after all disbursements, what remains. So that $819.71. Easy enough.
$819.
71 cents
I forgot, I'm sorry, 71 and 71 cents.
for the record.
Our last census, we were like 19.5, 19.6. If we go over that 20,000, we lose that 66 or $67,000.
Yeah. Well, next census.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
next census, so. Yeah. So
And do we know, do they make an update on that prior to the 10 years?
how I understand, they don't.
Really?
It's those 10 years, how I understood it when we discussed it back in February, so.
Then we're going to get a pretty good ride there.
Yeah, and we have been for, we've been at that 19,000 for quite a while, so.
All right, what we just need a motion to accept the county clerk's 2022 fee settlement.
So moved.
Is there a motion by Marty?
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One question about this. Are you having any consideration about getting passports back in down there? I've had several ask me about
Yeah,
that.
Consideration about what?
passports.
Doing passports
okay.
back at the office.
Yeah, that's been something I've discussed with Megan, the process. It's a lot to do, so I kind of need to, I haven't ever been trained up on it, so I got to do some more reading into it, but I have some stuff in my office that I've looked over. So,
Okay.
Because I think for a while, it was a good
Yeah.
practice that the office provided, so.
Well, like I said, I've had several ask
Yeah,
about it.
so I think it could be beneficial to the county, for sure.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Pam, I think we did vote. I think it was all affirmative, so that motion carried. Next, if you reviewed, this would be second reading and final passage of fiscal year 22-23 budget ordinance number 220.249, amendment number 5. So we'd need a motion and a second to approve that budget ordinance.
So moved.
I heard Scott and Myron at the same time. I'll give it to
Take it.
Scott and second to
That'd be
Myron.
fine.
Any other question, discussion? Pam will do the roll call on the ordinance.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Mason Barnes,
Yes. Then we have second reading and final passage of a zone change ordinance number 920.122. This is a zone change out on Purdue Farms Road. Then we'd need a motion and a second to approve second reading and final passage.
So move.
Motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion there? Pam, again, we'll do a roll call on the ordinance.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
Yes.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Mason Barnes,
Yes. All right, next, if you had an opportunity to review, there's a resolution number 2023-03-21 KPDI. This is an agreement to receive money on behalf of the Industrial Authority, a little over $500,000, but we have to have this resolution in place to be able to receive this money.
Where's that pad gonna be built at, Mason?
It will be in the Henderson Park. I don't know which lot.
Henderson Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know which lot. But this is money coming that did not come out of our coffers, nor do we have to pay back. But we have to have this resolution in place in order to get it.
So moved.
Second.
It's a pass-through.
Yes, it's just a pass-through. We get the money and we pass it on to the Industrial Authority to get it done. So we had a motion by Scott
Myron seconded.
and a second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, gentlemen, as you remember in our last meeting, we authorized bids to go out, an RFP for the architect and design proposal for a county clerk and PVA office. And you'll see on the portal the information that every bidder was given. When you're looking at the price that was quoted, what's on the specs that was sent out was exactly what they were bidding. So no one bid something that the other one did not bid. It was just for the architect and design work. And you see the list of the things there. They'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a dozen items that they were all submitting and soliciting bids on. That bid time period was scheduled to end on the 17th, which was last Friday at 11 a.m. And as you see, we had 5 bidders. The range was 4 of the 5 bidders, as you see, bid a fixed rate, meaning that for that amount of money, they would do the service that we requested in the bid proposal. One bidder wanted to use, their price was based on a percentage of their guesstimated cost of the project. That's why it's a range on it. But even on their low range, you see that the bids ranged from 110 up to, on their low range, $168,000.
What was the square footage that these guys estimated this?
But we told everyone that we were looking at 7,000 to 8,000 was the square foot range.
Now, are they still going to do, they're still going to meet with the clerk and determine?
Yes, the purpose of this right now is like if we approve one of these today, the first thing that's going to happen is the successful bidder here is going to meet with the county clerk and the staff there. And then we will put together, I'm assuming, Bill, we talked about, because we're going to have, you'll see one of the things we asked for was attend monthly development board meetings. So we would establish a development board and we would meet monthly. That development board would look at the preliminary drawings. The clerk and his staff would have the opportunity to look at those preliminary drawings, make changes and adjustments. In fact, I think part of the bid called for up to 2 changes and adjustments in the design work.
So there really isn't a square footage We're not saying it's gonna be 7,000, not saying it's gonna be 8,000. I mean, we don't know for sure until
Right.
the needs
I mean,
are.
that's just kind of our anticipation. We'll see what, I mean, once we have the person agreed to that's going to do the architectural design, they sit down and meet with the clerk and his staff and start laying out space, we'll be able to determine it.
So could that price change?
No.
Okay, so if it ends up being,
The only one that price could change on would be
With the top,
the bid
yeah,
number
yeah,
one,
yeah.
depending, but the rest of these folks have said, here's our flat fee to do these 12 items that you've asked us to do.
So in the specs, it was spec'd out between 7,000 and 8,000 square foot.
No, it was spec'd out to provide these services right here.
But what about the size of the building? I mean, are they taking that in consideration, the size of the building, for us coming up with a price to design?
Yes, they were all given 7,000 to 8,000
That's what
square
I'm saying,
feet.
okay.
Yeah.
But that don't mean that it won't come in at 6,500.
Yeah.
I mean, until they
True,
get,
true, but
yeah,
you know, and it don't mean it won't come in at 8,500
Yeah.
either, so, you know.
but that's gonna
so-
stay the same.
Anywhere
These four are on a fixed rate. It doesn't matter if that building's 6,000 square foot or 9,000 square foot with these four bidders here, that fixed rate's gonna stay the same for their services to do what we've asked them to do
Okay.
right here.
But until we have this, we won't know.
Right, yeah.
true.
Of course,
I know it's not the cheap bid, but I'm leaning towards the local individual. I don't know the other firms that about, I do know one firm.
all of these are Kentucky firms that are, one is local, some are close. One is out of state, one is in Indiana. It's the one that's going to have the percentage. And Myron, I completely understand where you're coming from, but I can't see $18,000 difference in it.
I can't at this time, but now, not seeing, I mean, I see the bid specs here.
Mhm.
So are these buildings designed, are they going to be sprinkled or not? I mean, I want to be able to compare apples to apples of what we're actually getting here.
Well, that'll be on the contract side.
I realize that, but square footage determines some of these things.
Right.
It determines that.
Right.
So my question is in some of these bids that we've received, does it have a sprinkled building? Some do, some don't. I don't know. That's
Well,
Because
that'll all
there's
be-
charges.
That'll all be determined once we determine what size the building will actually be.
Yeah.
And all these folks they understand that. Me personally, from where we're at and the money that we have to work with and being responsible, my suggestion would be to take the low bid. Not only that, but we took references, and I called on some of these, and the firm with the low bid actually specializes in county government building.
But is this the same firm that had been here before?
He was here.
And that was the one that we was
But
maybe
he-
going to trade with that day without having any bids.
Right. But he resubmitted. I mean, this is not his old bid. He resubmitted.
But that's the same number he had.
But he
Yeah.
held his to the same number.
So is this the same firm that does mostly remodel work rather than new construction that day that he presented?
No, he does architectural and design work
Okay.
for any and all.
Anyway,
I mean, I get what you're saying.
I
but
lean
it ain't-
towards local
but-
people.
but
I mean,
I agree with that
you know-
100%, but at $18,000, that's a pretty tough one to swallow.
I agree, but back several months ago, we was fixing to trade with somebody with no bids.
But now
I mean,
we know.
Yeah, I understand. I'm
Yeah.
just,
Well, I'm gonna make a motion, we go to low bid.
Which would be on our list, bid number 3. So we have a motion to move forward with the lowest bid to get the design work done. We need a second on that motion. I'll second that motion. I think that's the fiscally responsible move.
But I would like to trade with somebody local. I would like to get somebody local to
Well,
even bid it if we could.
The goal is going to be that when we get the design work done and we put it out to bid, our goal will be to have as many local contractors on that building as we possibly can.
I mean, when we bid, we say we do the best bid, which sometimes is not always the lowest bid, but in this case, they're all bidding the exact same thing. So it's not like one is offering a different service than the other's offering. They're all offering the exact same thing.
The law says go with the lowest and best bid. That says it's and. So it's not, obviously it's not just the lowest because the risk of people lowballing you, but lowest and best. That's what the law says. I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just telling you from the legal point of view.
So in this case, Counselor, with everybody bidding the exact same thing, then nobody could say they had a best bid in this, if they're all bidding the exact same thing. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, as far as now, fellas, I'm telling you from the legal standpoint, I don't know beans about architecture and construction work. That's why I've got,
Right.
this man here, he built, he's a builder, but I'm not. We got a electrical contract. I'm just saying, I don't know. As far as, we have one set of specs, or what we're asking for, but if it's the same, if you're asking me if this is all the, apples to apples, I don't know. But I am telling you, people who know more about that can answer that question, not me.
These 12 items that they bid, they're going to have to provide this for their bid. There's no way they can get around providing what's in this list. And that's all they're providing. Like Marty said, they're all are providing the very same service. They all bid the very same service. It's yes, if you're building a house, and I want to correct something here, yes, I do understand construction, but I'm not going to be involved in this other than...
I didn't mean to imply that. I'm just saying...
I want to make sure that publicly we understand I'm not involved in this.
Just so we're clear, you know a heck of a lot more about this than I do.
Right, and so where you're going to get into differences would be in a line of work that Myron would do. If we're going to put a panel in with aluminum bus bars versus copper bars, what kind of wire are we pulling? That's where you're going to get into some of the difference. This work right here, this is all pretty cut and dry. This is...
I guess they sent pictures of stuff that they had.
Yep.
Have they done a county court building before?
Well, I don't know.
You said other county buildings,
county
but have they done a
buildings.
county clerk building before?
I don't know that there's been a county clerk building actually built in the last 30 years. That's what Austin, in the state of Kentucky, I don't know that an actual clerk's building has been built in the last 30 or 40 years, but there's been, government buildings similar to like what the city, I guess, is doing with their police department. There's been those type government buildings built in different areas.
And I don't think the other one has done any county buildings either.
No.
So
I think Bill has his hand up.
Do you want to talk on the mic?
Probably be best, Bill. Probably be best if you come up here.
He said not really, but I will.
Well, it's just so everybody can hear you.
When we were searching for some ideas on how to do the clerk's office, actually what we came up with is it's going to be down to the individual what they would need here in Franklin. Because nobody really they had some remodelings and some of them, but nobody really had and it was like whatever you all want, like some of those things on that list, I don't know that we're going to need to do a geothermal dig and all that. I don't know about that stuff. I don't know that we will on that lot down there. And water retention, we got water retention. We got the biggest drain in Franklin down there in the corner. So I don't know how much of that stuff we're going to have to do. But I think it's really going to depend on what Austin and them come up with, and then the development board, what they say. He needs to know what's going to work,
we talked about a drive-through and whether we're going to have a drive-through or not. That's going to depend, if we have a drive-in, where that's going to be. Is it going to be on the back, on the left, or the right? All that's going to be determined. So really, this right here is just these guys here are they're going to have to give us ideas and then take what Austin and them come up with and make it work. I mean, there's nothing really that we can go by. We got pictures from everywhere. We got remodeling pictures, and some of them look nice, but I'm thinking, that's not going to fit our needs. We don't need this office right here side by side, and, whether we're going to put in an elevator, all that stuff. It really depends on what comes up with the design afterwards. I mean, we can't nail any of that down now.
And it wouldn't matter which one of these we chose, it'd be the same.
That's why I'm saying that puts them on an equal basis. We didn't have any floor plan to even give them. We talked about it. Me and Austin sat down. We couldn't even come up with anything.
Right. If you look at the second bullet point there, all of these bid to provide design, development, and up to 2 construction drawing revisions prior to construction bids, with final design to include civil, structural, architectural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. So I mean.
Question, is this in the Historic Preservation District?
That's going to have to be checked.
It is. It is. I've already checked. It is.
That might have.
All I know is,
Notice they didn't say a thing about us tearing down what was there, didn't they?
about
I think
historically preserving that.
I think most everybody would be happy with whatever we put there compared to what was there.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure they'll be glad to cover up the back of the building that we're seeing now when we drive by.
Not a peep.
all I know is I'm starting my 5th term. I have a former magistrate that I took, when he retired, I took his place. It was talked about while he was still in court, about building a clerk's building. We've been talking about this for probably 20 years.
Wish he'd done it 20 years ago.
Austin is the
Wish he'd
fourth.
done it 20 years ago.
Well, Austin is the.
You say we should have, or you wish? I wish he'd have done it.
Let me tell you the difference between 20 years ago and now. We have the money now.
Yeah, we didn't have $2 million
And
at the
Austin's the
government.
4th clerk, and Chip Phillips was clerk. Chip said we needed a new building. When Jolene was clerk, she said we needed a new building. When Beth was clerk, she said we needed a new building. Now Austin is saying it. So we got 4 clerks in a row that are saying the same thing. We have a motion on the table, and we're this close to getting this building going, and I encourage you all to vote for this.
I'm not against the project. What I'm saying is that I would like to do everything possible to deal with the local individual.
Well, I think
Several months ago when we'd come up, we were fixing to award this contract to this same firm without any bids. We were told we didn't even have to bid that service out.
And technically, you
That's
do
what
not.
Okay.
You do not have to bid professional service.
This one guy right here, if he's on the Historical Preservation Committee, he could help. That building does fall under that. It's in that area now.
Well, if that's the case, we'll get the guidelines from them.
So, that's all I'm saying is, I'm doing everything I can to try to deal with the local person. I'm not against the project by no means,
Well, we got a motion and a second, so if there's no more question or discussion, Pam, let's do a roll call.
Marty Chandler,
yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Myron Thurman,
No.
Scott Poston,
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, that motion carries. We'll get to work on a design project. All right, if you had an opportunity to review the budget transfers, we need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So,
Motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Marty. Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, the bills and claims. They're on the portal. If you've had a chance to review those, we need a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented.
Somebody.
Motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, reports. Today, from 11 to 1 at the Brickyard will be a coalition called Breathe Easy Franklin Simpson. They're encouraging people to stop by.
I thought they moved it.
Do what?
I thought they moved it to a different date.
Did they move it to a different day?
I got an email.
Yeah,
on it.
email.
What day did
yesterday.
they move it to?
I don't know. I have to go back and
must
look
have
at
missed
my-
that email.
Let's see. Breathe easy.
I don't think they
April
mentioned it.
11th,
April 11th, okay.
10
So it'll be
o'clock.
April 11th at 10 o'clock.
here at the courthouse.
I had a busy day yesterday.
I think
didn't
it's
get a chance to
child.
look at many emails.
Is that child
No,
abuse one? Is that
no,
a different one?
That's different.
It's a Breathe Easy, March 21st.
That's what I thought. It's today.
It is canceled.
Oh, it canceled it.
It is canceled. I'm reading what the email says.
Okay.
It
They
is-
just
and it's
canceled it.
moved
They didn't
April.
reschedule it?
It don't say nothing in there about
Scratch
it.
that. I don't know if we'll get to breathe easy or not.
I'm just reading what the email says.
Okay. Like I said, we had a busy day yesterday. I didn't get to look at emails very much.
Let's see.
I do want to say one thing here. Mr. Kenneth Utley's with us. We're glad to have you with us today, but I also want
That's
to
the same
publicly
email
thank
I
you
just
for
got.
the last two Saturdays sitting out at our brush drop-off site. Kenneth has logged all the loads. I think we had the first Saturday, you said we had 46 or 48, and then this past Saturday, 53. So I know we're doing it one more Saturday. It'll be again this Saturday, 8 to 4. So we've had just over 100 loads of brush brought out in the 2 weeks. And you said the people are very appreciative that we've got a place to bring the stuff. So we thank you for being willing to sit out there and yeah. So kind of on a side note of that, because thankfully, you've not had anyone try to bring shingles or stuff such as that.
Good deal.
But on a side note, typically in April, we do the trash amnesty where Scott Waste provides the containers for a Friday and Saturday. So we've got those scheduled for Friday and Saturday, April 28th and 29th. So for those who have, shingles or metal fascia material or just construction debris that might have blown away in the storm, or it's just, I hadn't cleaned out my garage in 10 years and I want to throw some stuff out, you'll have the opportunity at no charge to come out and bring your stuff. Can't be hazardous materials. You can't bring paint or batteries or tires, but if you took a toilet out last year and you thought, I got nowhere to dump this toilet and it's been sitting in your garage for a year, you could load your toilet up in your truck and take it out there and throw it out. April 28th and 9th. Also, the Human Rights Commission, the Women History Month luncheon will be this Saturday, the 25th at 11:30 at the Blewett Bradley Building. I think you might need to let someone on the Human Rights Commission know if you think you can attend. It'll be this Saturday at 11:30. And then finally, I had texted all you guys and encouraged you to reach out to our representatives. But last week, the legislature did pass the annexation moratorium, which is a one-year moratorium on city annexation without some county consent. Not really sure how all that will work. I know there's going to be a panel that's going to try to determine what annexation will look like and how it will work moving forward after we get past this one-year moratorium. So that'll be a pretty important panel. Also, the good thing about it was they passed it on the last day that you could pass something and still have the ability to override a veto from the governor. Because there was legislative action, I think, the next day or two after that, but those actions would not be subject to an override. But the vote for the moratorium was so overwhelming in favor that if the governor does veto it, the legislature will override the veto. So, all right. Byron?
No report.
Scott?
Thank you, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank Kenneth too. And we was at a conference last week, and there was a lot of texting and stuff for the state reps over this.
I bet there was.
moratorium. Yeah. It was a big deal, so.
I bet there was, and I bet if there were state reps there, they were getting their ears burnt,
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah. But that's all I have.
We're not shutting down 12 to 1 out there for lunch, because there's people every day that just keep coming, I couldn't turn around, I just stayed there.
So 8 to 4, 8 to 4. Okay, thank you. Jeffrey?
No report.
Marty?
Do we need to vote to approve this?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. We do. Thank you for bringing that up. You got in front of you, we got a kind of a corrected, amended proposed budget for the jail. We have to receive that by April 1st, technically. So we do need to have a motion and a second to acknowledge receipt of the proposed jail budget. It's not a binding budget. It'll have to work through the budgeting process, but we do need a record in the minutes that we have received the proposed budget from the jail.
So moved.
Got a motion by
Second.
Marty,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Marty.
And I was going to say, I contacted Sean about the moratorium, but also sent him some pictures. And last Friday, I guess it was, one of the state trucks.
Thursday.
Was
I
it
think it was
Thursday? On Gold City Road, they lost a piece of equipment on the hill going around the bridge there. I sent him some pictures and told him I've been asking to have that bridge replaced and that road straightened out for several years. And hopefully now that a state truck got involved with it, they want to do something about it. And they talk like maybe we might get that road fixed next year. So you hate that something like that has to happen before. But if that truck had been meeting a car, it would have been bad, because they threw a little excavator off the trailer in the middle of the road. So, but if any of you talk to Sean or Mike, or encourage them to get us some money to fix the bridge on Gold City Road, it'd be nice to have that straightened out.
Yes.
That's all I have.
All right. Counselor?
Couple of things. I guess number one is, me being the broken record, pay your taxes come April 15th, I guess April 18th this year because of where the calendar falls. But you got to get it paid, and after that, it leaves the sheriff's office and they're no longer late, they become delinquent, and a lot more fees and expenses and penalties attached. So, you know, it's going to be cheaper for you if you pay them sooner rather than later. Number two, there was a big meeting yesterday afternoon. The Attorney General Cameron was here,
Glad you brought that up.
and it was basically a discussion meeting regarding fentanyl and what a plague and danger it is to not just our community, but all communities. And it was pretty intense discussion. So I cannot stress enough how dangerous fentanyl is, and a lot of folks it's being laced with other drugs, and lots of times people don't actually realize they're taking fentanyl. They think they're taking something else, and we've had several overdoses here in our community, a few of which unfortunately have cost people their lives. So that was discussed at some length yesterday. I'm sure me and some others, Corey Morgan, our Commonwealth attorney, and some others be happy to talk to folks about it, but that did happen yesterday afternoon. It's not every day the Attorney General comes to town. Also, I guess this is a question, not a report, but spring break is the first week of April as usual. Are we meeting then? Because some of us have got plans, you know.
I won't be here.
You won't be here. What about the first week of April? Is it?
Yeah, I'll be here, but it don't matter to me. I mean,
I'll be here.
I'll be here, but if we need,
we
I'm
can
just saying,
reschedule.
Will you be in town?
No.
All right. Let us do an evaluation. I don't know how much, I don't know if our treasurer has plans. Let me do an evaluation. You will?
I mean, if y'all want to have the meeting, that's fine. I'm just letting you know, I've got kids in school, and so.
We'll do an evaluation and kind of see if we need to hold it off, we can. Well, I'll let y'all know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
To Sam's point, I'm glad you brought up the meeting with the Attorney General being down here in the fentanyl discussion, because I want to say something, but I want to ask the sheriff a question before I say this, because I want to make sure that I did understand this correctly. Sheriff, when they're taking this fentanyl and using it to put in all kinds of other drugs, but not just necessarily other drugs, but other commonly prescribed medications, even aspirin, correct?
Correct.
So this is what I want to say. I want to encourage the public to do this. If you have kids or grandkids, talk to your kids and grandkids about taking pills. Meaning, you don't want your son or your daughter, your grandson or your granddaughter to go to school, oh my gosh, I've got a headache. Another kid gives them an aspirin or a pill that you think is to cure a headache. You don't know where that kid got that pill. You don't know what's in that pill. Have a real discussion with your kids about what they're taking, who's giving them medication that they think is just medication for a headache or whatever, and then they die because there's a grain or two of fentanyl laced in that pill. I know it's a tough discussion to have, but I urge you to have that discussion with your kid.
People don't understand how powerful fentanyl is. It was originally designed as, believe it or not, as elephant tranquilizer. So it is worse, it's transdermal, which means it can go through your skin. It's really bad, and people don't understand just how powerful it is. Do not take any pills unless it's from a healthcare provider, the school nurse. Obviously your parents at home, if you have young children, need to be taking medicine, but do not be taking pills unless you know exactly where they came from, because people are getting, they're dying from it. And our police and sheriffs for the last few years been carrying Narcan, which is a medicine that they use to help treat people who overdose. And sometimes it takes multiple applications for it to take effect, and sometimes it's too late, it doesn't take effect. So please don't take anything, any kind of medication unless and tell your kid, Judge is right, tell your children and grandchildren, do not take anything unless you know exactly where it came from.
On that note, Sheriff, you have anything?
No report.
Jailer? You can have
2.
You can have 2 seconds. One's going to be gone by the time you get to the microphone.
With the fentanyl thing, I'm not getting on that, but we've had, 4 deputies that sent to the hospital over exposure, counting the money. So, I mean, it gets everywhere. So, anyway, just food for thought. The only thing that I wanted to say, you were talking about the House bills. You and I talked briefly in your office about House Bill 507. It got pushed to the side, but it's coming back. Myron and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. This is something that each one of you, magistrates, your association, judges, your association, I don't think y'all were I think y'all were for this bill. And it sounds good right up front. And it limited to counties building or adding on to corrections facilities. We don't need to add on. I'm not saying that at all. But what it also is, the backside of this is there's a lawsuit between the Kentucky jailers and DOC. It's an ugly one, and it's one that we're probably going to come out on top. Now, how they're going to figure this out, they've been cheating the counties for a long time over us housing these inmates for them on our dollar, okay? The balance of it is going to be somewhere between, this is guesstimate, probably $130 to $150 million back to the counties. They can't pay that. You know it and I know it. The backside of this 507 bill is to regionalize, suspectedly to regionalize jails. Guys, we don't want that. I'll tell you why. The regionalization, if that happens, if that's what the angle is, we'll say if. I'm no stranger to what goes on when it comes to this stuff, but if that's the angle, here's the backside of it. If DOC, the state, takes over our county facilities, right up front, it's like, whew, we ain't got to worry about that no more. That's on the state. Guess what? You're going to pay what they tell you to pay for these county inmates. We don't need that. We're at their mercy if we push that through. So I encourage the Judges Association, Mason, you got a big voice. Go up there and talk to them.
Well,
we don't need this.
What I would suggest is that the Jailers Association drop the lawsuit because we're not getting the $130 or $40 million.
You're right.
Let's work on getting paid what's fair going forward to keep these inmates.
And I'm not at liberty to say, but I will say I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't make that decision. I'm on the board just like Fiscal Court. I don't make that decision. I'm telling you, I don't disagree with you. But we're at a spot.
And the $4 they gave us a year or so, was it a year ago or 2 years ago now?
It's 2 years ago.
They give us $4. It's appreciated, but it still doesn't cover the cost.
You're right. So
if y'all go through with this and you win win this, so
Simpson
you think
County
that
is
they're
not
going
on the
to,
lawsuit.
I mean, that's what we heard at the conference, that the state could take over the.
Correction, Department of Correction can take
well,
over that.
let me throw this at you. And this is public. The state can't run their own facilities, much less ours. They can't manpower their own facility, much less ours.
Well, I'm in agreement with some of the other county judges. There's not one inmate, there's not one person in that jail that's in jail because they broke a local law. They all broke a law that's on the KRS. Let the state house them all.
Here's the thing, they can't do it. But if they were to take over, if they regionalize our jails, guess what? We're at their mercy.
Basically, if they say county X, you got to pay
Yes.
X amount of dollars, and I'm just saying, each year they can raise it up, and you may think, well, that's reasonable, or you may think it's unreasonable, and you have no control over it whatsoever. You just write a check.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we've had no ability to say, here's what we need to be housing the state inmates.
Thank you. We've had the ability, we haven't been heard. Now we're being heard.
Oh, we could say it, but that doesn't matter what we say.
And I want y'all to know that when we speak and take action, it's for the best interest of my county and Logan County and Allen County and Warren. It's not for the judge, it's not for the magistrates, it's not for the jails, it's not for the sheriffs, the clerks, it's for our county. So
I'm just telling you, you don't want people who are in jail for DUI or shoplifting or misdemeanor stuff. The state does not need to be housing those folks. I mean, those are misdemeanors. I'm just saying, I think you may think, I don't have to fool with it. I'm just saying, they do their stuff here, their families are here, they're here. I'm not talking about the felony stuff. The felony stuff, I don't necessarily have a problem with states housing them if they're responsible for it, but I don't think it's a really good idea for people who are charged with low-level misdemeanor offenses. The state does not need to be housing them. You don't house misdemeanor prisoners like you do felony prisoners.
Here's another factor to that. I think if they were to make this is hearsay, I think if they were to make a regional, if they were to go to regional jails, we would probably be the regional jail for Logan and Allen. I would say that's probably how it's, because we sit right on I-65.
I figured there'd be Warren County would be the local regional jail for about 10 counties.
Warren County,
Just
they
like-
can't house ours.
Well, they'll build another jail. just like look at the driver's license.
Right.
Everything gets regionalized. In the Brad region, it all gets regionalized to Warren County.
Well, here's the other part of it.
They have to
Sheriff,
build a prison, in other
every
words.
arrestee that you make, you're going to wherever that regional is.
I know.
And it's going to get costly on him. It's going to take people off of the streets,
Out of the jurisdiction.
out of jurisdiction. I don't know. I guess it would be a,
Well, if we were a regional jail for Logan and Allen, then it would be doing the same thing for Logan and Allen County.
I know it.
So,
That's
but I think if it's regionalized, there will be a big prison built in Warren County, and it'll be the regional jail for all 10 counties.
Could be.
That's my opinion.
They've
And I
got,
hope it don't, because,
they've got
I don't see
Edmondson.
that ever makes anything better.
No.
they've got Edmondson and Butler right now, I think. And, of course, Hart is, Hart's housing for some other county. I don't know who they're housing for. But our jail is bigger than Logan's. It's 3 times the size of Allen's, and we sit right on I-65. If Warren didn't do it, because they house about 500 to 600 inmates right now, and they're talking about doing away with their juvenile side of their jail.
Because the problem is they keep having riots up there because they don't put enough people in there
Right.
to man it, enough staff.
What is that house number, bill number again?
House 507.
507.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I encourage y'all to stay strong and vote against this, because there's a lot of underlying factors coming behind it if it passes.
All right, thank you, Jailer.
Y'all have a good day.
You do.
Chief, anything with the fire department? Oh, I'm sorry, I overlooked the clerk. Okay. Chief, anything with the fire department? Bill, anything with maintenance? Bobby, anything with the road department?
Bobby and his guys are still out cleaning up stuff from the start.
You've about got it all cleaned up, right?
Yeah, after today, there's one road we're waiting on. A landowner was asked us to let him get his cattle moved, and he's going to provide us a place to put some brush.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll probably hopefully have all it wrapped up. FYI for just hopefully next Monday, the 27th, we are going to close down Vances Mill Road to through traffic. This all depends on contractors, but the plan is at that intersection of Chester Man, we're going to have about 500, 600 feet of asphalt milled up completely down to rock, and then we're going to build that area up a couple of feet, try to help some of that flooding. So hopefully, if it works with them, that'll close down Monday. We'll put a call out and have signs up, and then we'll get the rock down and packed in, and then they should get it paved hopefully by the end of the week. Now, that may change, but we'll put notices out towards the end of the week so they'll know. And then I think they're going to go ahead and start on some of our roads repaving. So in the next week or so, that'll be done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, gentlemen, I need now a motion to adjourn.
No move.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. All in favor, aye. Any opposed?